The Ukrainians had decided to continue fighting in the destroyed city of Bakhmut as the fighting suppressed the best Russian units and degraded them ahead of a planned Ukrainian spring counteroffensive. Bakhmut has become a particularly challenging kill zone for Russian Wagner mercenary forces trying to continue their advance westward. Ukraine says it has carried out long-range rocket attacks on Russian troops and military equipment in southern Ukraine, territory it plans to recapture in a counteroffensive using hundreds of thousands of troops. The strike hit an ammunition dump in the town of Novokakhovka in the Kherson region and killed 52 Russians, the Ukrainian military said. With fighting heating up in the Donetsk region, the exact lines of contact are unclear, especially around the town of Bakhmut, where some of the heaviest fighting of the war has occurred in recent weeks. Along the front line, increasingly difficult. Meanwhile, Russia has launched nearly 100 missiles of various types over the past few days, the Ukrainian military said on Friday. Much attention has been focused on the multiple launches of the Kinzhal airborne ballistic missile, which are extremely difficult to stop. While Ukraine's defense knocked out 34 attacks, dozens of missiles hit infrastructure targets, further destroying the country's fragile energy system. At least half a dozen people were injured, particularly in the Donetsk region. From 24 February 2022 to 11 March 2023, the Ukrainian Defense Forces eliminated around 158,000 Russian invaders, including 1,010 people in the last 24 hours. As reported by Ukrinform, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine announced this on Facebook. The latest intelligence update says that over the last 4 days, Wagner Group forces have controlled much of eastern Bakhmut, while Ukrainian forces have controlled its west and have destroyed the main bridge over the Bakhmutka River, which now marks the front line. The ministry said, with Ukrainian units able to fire from the fortified buildings to the west, this area had become a kill zone, likely to be very challenging for Wagner's troops attempting to continue their frontal advance westward. However, Ukrainian troops and their supply lines to the west remain vulnerable to continued Russian attempts to outflank the defenses from the north and south. The Associated Press reports that just west of Bakhmut, shelling and missile strikes hit the Ukrainian-held town of Kostiantynivka on Friday. The regional attorney's office said 8 people were injured and more than a dozen homes were damaged or destroyed. Police said Russian troops attacked the town with S-300 missiles and cluster munitions. The attack came as an aid to President Volodymyr Zelensky, said Ukraine had decided to continue fighting in Bakhmut because the fighting was suppressing Russia's best units and losing them ahead of Ukraine's planned spring counteroffensive. Meanwhile, Yevgeny Prigozhin, founder of the Wagner mercenary group, said on Friday he had thanked the Russian government for the heroic increase in ammunition production. But he was still concerned about the shortage of its fighters and the Russian army as a whole. Prigozhin also said Wagner has opened recruiting centers in 42 Russian cities. Despite the colossal resistance of the Ukrainian armed forces, we will continue to advance. Regardless of the sticks in the wheels that are thrown at us at every step, we will overcome it together, he said. Reuters reported Prigozhin as saying his men had begun taking deliveries of ammunition labeled produced in 2023. He said the ammunition was now being produced in large quantities, covering all the necessary requirements. Russia says seizing Bakhmut will punch a hole in Ukraine's defenses and be a step towards seizing all of Ukraine's Donbass industrial zone. The trench warfare, described by both sides as a meat grinder, had taken a heavy toll. But Kyiv's decision to stay and fight shows they believe Russia's losses far outweigh their own. It's been 3 weeks since the last Russian similar offensive, the longest such lull since it began in October. Previously, Russia launched such attacks roughly every week. challenging Ukraine's ability to repair infrastructure before the next attack. Britain's Ministry of Defense said on Friday the reason for the longer delay may be that Russia was running out of missiles. The interval between attack waves may increase because Russia now needs to stockpile large quantities of newly produced missiles directly from industry before it can mount a strike large enough to credibly overwhelm Ukraine's air defenses, he said. The Ukrainian resistance may also have a wider effect on the Russian economy. The comments by Mykhailo Podolyak, an assistant president to Volodymyr Zelensky, are the latest signal of Ukraine's shift this week to continue defending the small eastern city, site of the war's bloodiest battle, as Russia tries to secure its first major victory in more than half a year. Russia has changed tactics, Podolyak said. It has assembled in Bakhmut with most of its trained military personnel, remnants of its professional army, as well as private companies. Russia has made Bakhmut the main target of a winter offensive involving hundreds of thousands of reservists and mercenaries.